Reggie White having an outstanding season, 14 sacks to his credit. Many are trying to convince him to keep playing. As we come back in to talk a bit more about this game, final thoughts starting with Chris.
Packers can run the football in this game, and they have to against the Minnesota Vikings. If the Packers win today, Derek Holmes will become a household name around the country.
Two guys to keep an eye on today. John Randall for the Minnesota Vikings, moving up and down the line on Ross Verba. Also, Reggie White playing in left defensive end and also dropping him on the nose. Should be two great matchups, two great all-pros.
I talked to Randall Cunningham. He'd be the number one sought-after free agent, $5 to $6 million a year. He wants to stay here and said he'd be glad to get part of his salary to keep Bill Belichick here in Minneapolis. Also, Juanita Long, my kid's grandmother, my wife's grandmother, ill in the hospital. Our prayers with her.
Vikings recognize the challenge today, trying to knock off the Packers. They got a short work week with Dallas coming up on Thursday. They recognize what's in front of them. All right, for those of you who are getting an early game, your game is coming up next. For others, we'll send you back to Los Angeles, where you will join Joe Buck and Ron Pitts. Vikings, Packers, coming up next.
As you look inside that dome, the Hubert Humphrey Metrodome, the home of the Vikings, as they get set to entertain the Green Bay Packers, the rematch. The Vikings overwhelmed the Packers in their meeting, in their first meeting this year. Minnesota leads the NFC Central 9-1. Green Bay is 7-3. It's a must-win for them. I'm Pat Summerall with John Madden. And John, a lot of people still don't seem to believe that Minnesota is as good as their record.
I'll tell you, I believe that they're that good. And when you talk to the Vikings and players and coaches, and you're around here and you watch them practice, you can just feel their confidence. And they should have confidence, because the last time they played, they beat the Green Bay Packers at their place. They have the best record in the division. They have the best record in the conference, and I think they're coming in with that kind of confidence. And I think Denny Green feels that they can do the same thing that they did last time. They have those three great wide receivers. They have Randall Cunningham, who's out. Look what they did to him last time. I think they think that they can do the same type of thing, plus they're running Robert Smith. And then Denny Green says on defense, he said we have to get after Brett Favre and not let him get into a rhythm.
And the Packers seemed a little unsure when we talked with them last night. In fact, they didn't exude confidence in any way, did they?
Well, because they're a couple of games behind, and Mike Holmgren was saying that the last time that they played Minnesota, they were beaten so badly that the first thing he did when they started their game plan this week is he went in and he told both of his coordinators, don't do what we did last time. That thing didn't work. So on offense, they're thinking, we don't want to go after the home runs. We just want to go after chunk. Just get first downs, move the chains, keep their offense off the field. And then, of course, on defense, they have to get after Randall Cunningham. And they have to do it with a four-man rush in a zone. They're not going to do a lot of blitzing, and they aren't going to play a lot of man-to-man defense.
And coming up, it's the Green Bay Packers and Minnesota Vikings from the Metrodome. And John and I'll be back for the opening kickoff when Fox NFL Sunday continues after this message is from your local station.
Physical. Every possession, be physical. Be physical. 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
Welcome back to the Metrodome and the game of the week. Maybe the game of the year. The Green Bay Packers have won the toss. Minnesota will kick off. Packed house, that's the result of that meeting in Green Bay when the Vikings broke Green Bay's home winning streak. Brett Favre, who will have the chance on offense first after the kickoff, had 3 passes intercepted that night. Mike Holmgren, as John Madden said, told his 2 coordinators, let's do everything different from what we did in that game. Berger nails it deep, and they won't bring it out. Royal Preston. Let's check out that Green Bay offense led by number 4, the incomparable Brett Favre. Only 3-time most valuable player in NFL history. The offensive line. They've improved, Mike Holmgren says. Verba, Rivera, Winters, Timmerman, and Dotson. Derek Holmes is the running back behind Henderson, Freeman, Brooks, and Chimura, the receiver. 2 tight ends set up they open with. 1 back. fumble on the first exchange between Winters and Favre, and there's a scramble for it. Green Bay got it back.
That was one of the things that the Packers and Brett Favre last night were concerned about. There's a noise in here in the starting count, and Brett says that they're going to start on the same count every time. Looked like that ball got up there. Brett Favre wasn't ready for it. Frankie Winters could have snapped that thing a little early.
He could have. Jerry Ball was right on his face mask.
That will make you snap it a little early.
Yep.
I wonder sometimes how a center and a quarterback can work together so long and have something like that happen on the first play.
Holmes hit right at the line of scrimmage and stopped right there. Let's look at that Viking defense. This is the part of the Minnesota machine that a lot of people don't think is that reliable, but they've played extremely well. Randall, Williams, Jerry Ball, and Derek Alexander up front. Dwayne Rudd, Ed McDaniel, and Dixon Edwards, the three linebackers in the secondary. Hitchcock and Fuller, the corners. Thomas and Griffith, the two safeties.
Yeah, John Randall is playing end in this game, and then on a passing down like this, he goes in and he plays defensive tackle.
Favre back to throw it. Pass complete to Freeman. First down, Green Bay at the 36.
That's the type of pass patterns that they were talking about. You know, we don't need the home runs early. What we need are just things that move the chain. And here you see Antonio Freeman. He's going to come up, and then he just comes into that area. In fact, Mike Holmgren thought that there was a void in that area. As Ed McDaniel, the middle linebacker, runs out, that they can get in between Ed McDaniel and the safety in the middle of the field.
Favre retreats. Lost the ball. And the Vikings have it. Tony Williams came up with the ball. I don't know if Favre had it hit or dropped it or what happened, but the Vikings get the turnover.
And the things the Packers talked about is we can't have turnovers. We have to move the chain. And the first thing on this first series, they have it. Brett Favre has it in one hand,
Just
and you
slipped out.
see it just hit his hip. I mean, he just started to run out there, and the ball was low in his right hand, and it bounced off his hip. And then there was Tony Williams to pick it up. Boy, strange things happen in these games. I mean, you can talk about offense and defense and game plans and getting guys open, and then your quarterback starts to run and just drops the football and he's not even hit.
Three wide receiver setup. That's a dangerous setup for Minnesota. They use it about half the time. Robert Smith is deep. This is out to Jake Reed. And Reed gets down to about the 16. Let's look at the Minnesota offense. Powerful machine it is. Randall Cunningham, and that's what he did in the first game between these two. Amazing story. Susie, McDaniel, Christie, Dixon, and Stringer. A huge offensive line that's been together quite a while. Robert Smith and Charles Evans, the two backs. Reed and Carter and Randy Moss are the wide receivers. Carter in the slot. Cunningham gives to Robert Smith. Pursuit knocks him out of bounds for the loss of a couple. Craig Newsom came up as a cornerback should. Let's look at the Green Bay defense. That's the front four: Holiday, Brown, Santana, Dotson, and Reg White. The linebackers: Brian Williams, Bernardo Harris, and George Coombs. And the secondary: Williams and Newsom, the corners, Sharper and Butler, the safety.
Interesting here, Pat, that the Packers aren't going to their nickel defense, and it's third down. I think they're still playing. They still have Gilbert Brown in there. They still have their base defense in there. They're playing the Minnesota Vikings for run.
And Leroy Hord's in the game.
Using their pass protector.
Cunningham fires. Incomplete, deflected, and out of the end zone. Butler got a hand on it.
Yeah, and that was the thing that we were talking about. You know, they want to rush Randall Cunningham, but they don't want to blitz him, and they don't want to play him in a man-to-man defense. They want him to be able to read their zones, or have to read their zones, and then they want to get a lot of guys back in that area, and you can see that it worked that time. The Packers got exactly what they wanted with their zone defense and dodged a bullet because of that turnover.
Anderson, 35 yards, and he's been perfect, and he remains perfect. Gary Anderson. Preston's 24th consecutive field goal gives the Vikings the lead.
Fox NFL.
I was talking a minute ago, John, about how warm it is. Doesn't look like it, does it?
No, you can't beat a good icicle.
Right.
Yeah, we haven't even had Thanksgiving yet. In fact, that's our next big game on Thursday down in Dallas. But icicles remind me of Christmas decorations.
Yep.
We don't get to that until after we get past Thanksgiving.
They remind me of cold.
Cold Christmas.
Berger sails it out of the end zone.
This guy is something, isn't he? I mean, and you just look at what kind of field position he gives when you kick like that. This is what he did last week. Look, he had 5 touchbacks. 4 of them, the team started on the 20. And then his punts are the same thing. You see, he had 2 way down here where they had to start right here, and then he had 2 inside the 30. So anytime you get a kickoff guy like Mitch Berger who can kick the ball up and punt like that, then the other team is always looking at a long field.
That is an unrecognized weapon, and it's a real weapon. You can eat up a lot of yards. 2 tight ends set up for Green Bay, and Favre drops, throws to Chamorro. He is hit backwards by Ed McDaniel.
You know, and then if you look what Berger does, Pat, after that, he has a candy bar in his shoe. And after he kicks,
there he
to
goes.
get energy,
There he goes.
And he gets the candy bar.
How much more energy does he need?
I don't know. He's trying to sneak it. Did you see that?
Kickoff completely out of the end
I
zone.
know it. Darn near out of the stadium.
Yeah.
This place didn't have a dome on it. It could have ended up St. Paul.
2nd and 5. Chamorro moves. Favre throws to Henderson. Just a little bit shy of the first down, about a foot it appears. Tony Williams made the stop.
You know, Mike Holmgren was telling us last night that Dorsey Levens is going to start working out with the team next week. And remember a couple weeks ago talking to Brett Favre, and he says one of the areas that he misses Dorsey Levens the most is in the passing game. He said you don't realize how many times Dorsey Levens was his outlet or his check down guy that he threw to. And he said without him and different backs all the time, it's made passing tough.
2 tight ends set up. This is Holmes, and he got the first down. Hit it hard, but not much yardage.
Derek Holmes was a pretty good pickup for the Packers. They got him in a trade from the Buffalo Bills. And remember a few years ago, he was a backup to Thurman Thomas up there, and he had a big year. And then he kind of got relegated where he was just a special teams player. And when the Packers had some injuries, they figured that they wanted to get a running back that was active, that was on a team that was playing, not some guy that was just sitting around. So they made a trade for Derek Holmes.
3 wide receiver package, and this is Holmes. Hit right at the line of scrimmage, perhaps a little bit behind it by Dwayne Rudd. The Vikings have a good set of linebackers.
Yeah, and they have a very quick set of linebackers. I mean, they have the speed at these 2 positions in Rudd and McDaniel, and you can see Rudd there. I mean, he just hit that thing head on. But if you run at him, he can play it like this. You better get a blocker on him now if you're going to run at him, because he's going to make a collision right like that. And if you run away from him, he has the speed to catch you from behind.
2nd and 11. These situations Brett Favre doesn't want. Holmes on a draw play gets near first down yardage, and he might have it.
And these are the ways that Brett Favre wants to get out of these things. Here you just see one single back here now. Everyone thinks it's pass, so you get the line is going into pass rush. The linebackers start to drop off, and then just a little delay, and then when Derek Holmes hits that thing, you see he gets a block right there, and then he's able to almost get a first down.
They need a foot. Quarterback sneak. He doesn't like to do that, but he got a first down.
Well, you know, he has a call with Frank Winters, the center, and all he calls is Peter. And if he wants to take that ball, he just calls Peter, and that's an audible that he's going to take it, and then Frank Winters just snaps it to him, and he runs right off Frank Winters' block. Watch this. You see, he makes that thing, and then he just gets right in behind Frank Winters. You see that? And that's when there's no one one covering the center is when he runs that play.
4 wide receivers this time, and Favre throws high. Intended for Freeman. Just a little bit long.
Yeah, I think he better throw that one high because that was good coverage by the Vikings, and I think if he threw it where Freeman could have caught it, it also could have been intercepted.
As we said before, he had 3 intercepted in the first meeting between these two, and that was the beginning of a streak of games with 3 interceptions for him.
Minnesota runs defensive guys in and out, and here's one of the big matchups today. John Randall as the right end over there against Ross Verba.
No blitz. Favre incomplete behind Shimura.
Ross Verba now did a nice job on John Randall because what they wanted to do is take away the inside. See, he has to look in there to see the snap count, to see the ball snap. But the thing that Holmgren says is he's going to give him some help, but not to the inside. So the thing that he wants him to do is he wants him to take the outside. Don't let him have the inside on you.
I have an idea he said to Ross Verba after it was over, good job.
That was a good job.
It was.
And he should have said that. Now John Randall moves inside.
Here comes the blitz. They get it outside to Henderson. Short of the first down at about the 48-yard line, and the Packers will have to punt. Corey Fuller knocked him out of bounds.
That's why you have to be impressed with this Viking defense, Pat. When they throw that ball out there to Henderson, it's thrown short of the first down, and there were 8 Vikings in on that tackle.
Now, they're a very fast defense.
You know, like I was saying earlier, this Viking team is built for speed. It's a team that's built to play on artificial turf.
Sean Landeta back to punt for Green Bay. And David Palmer deep for Minnesota. Landeta, good kick. High, hanging. Palmer gets away and bounds through the end zone. They'll bring it back to the 20. 3-0 Minnesota. 3-0 Minnesota, 7:36 left in the first quarter. The Vikings can clinch a playoff berth with a win today against Green Bay, or Arizona or New Orleans loses. Moss was the man in motion. Flag on the play. Packers blitz Cunningham. Flag was early. Referee is Phil Luckett. Seems like every time we come here, the referee has a problem with his crowd mic. Let's see.
Illegal shift.
That's good.
Offense. 2-minute motion.
Yep.
And not resetting. 5 yards. Repeat. First down.
The rule is you can have as many shifts as you want to, but you can only have one man moving when the ball snaps. So here's one man. So that's one of the men moving. So what they said was that there was someone else moving before the ball was snapped.
So it's 1st and 15. Smith gets the carry. Out of the pack comes Robert Smith across the 20. Stopped by Brian Williams. Robert Smith, you can stop him 6 times in a row, and all of a sudden he's gone for 80 yards.
And he's that kind of guy.
Yeah.
That will. I mean, you can stop him inside. He'll run right into a wall. Sometimes he'll run a play to the sidelines, and he'll just run it right out of bounds. And a little like Franco Harris used to be years ago with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You think, we got him today, and then he'll break a 60-yarder on you.
Chris Carter in the slot left. Passes out to Jake Reed, and Reed gets to the 25.
What they're going to do is they're going to make those corners tackle. That's Craig Newsome out there. And anytime they're off, Randall Cunningham is trying to get the ball out there. You see, here's Craig Newsome here. And anytime they get that type of separation, they want to get the ball out quickly to the receiver on that side. Now, that's okay offensively, and it's okay defensively, too, if you tackle the way Craig Newsome tackled on that play.
And that's a couple he's done like that.
Right, and if you miss a tackle, then it can be a big play. But if you're going to play off, you have to make those tackles.
3rd and 4. David Palmer's in the backfield. Movement. Both sides point at each other.
Yeah, I think Andrew Glover is saying that he moved, but the movement of the defense made him move, and that's a new rule that they put in. You know, that if the defense moves towards the line of scrimmage and makes the offensive guy move, the penalty is then on the defense. And that's what they're discussing now.
It is 3-0. The Vikings lead while the conference goes on. Bill Luckett.
Prior to the snap, ball start, offense in the right guard. 5 yards to remain, third down.
They're calling on David Dixon, the right guard here. You can see the movement there. Now, he set up a little, but the defense did move.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of those that they put in a rule that if the defense makes you move, that the penalty should go against them, but they didn't call it that way that time.
3rd and 9. 8 minutes left first quarter. Leroy Horde now replaces Palmer in the Viking backfield.
This is where the Packers need their rush from their 4 men.
Pass is caught short of a first down by Chris Carter. That is unusual for him to catch a pass on 3rd down and doesn't make a first down.
No, and he's the go-to guy on 3rd down for the Minnesota Vikings, and I think he's had like 22 straight that every time they throw it to him on 3rd down, he's picked up the first down. But this is what the Packers wanted on their defense. They're not man-to-man. They just rushed 4. That means that they defended with 7, and those 7 guys played a zone principle.
The dangerous Royal Preston back deep for Green Bay. Berger to punt it. Great punt by Berger again. Chases Preston back to the 15. He is knocked back to the 22-yard line. Good coverage by Minnesota, and the Packers will have a long way to go, trailing 3-0. Back at the Metrodome, Pat Summerall, John Madden. Minnesota 3, Green Bay 0.
Yeah, the Vikings are doing an interesting thing here, Pat. On first down, they're playing them with nickel defense. They have 4 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, and 5 defensive backs in. So they're kind of saying the Packers aren't going to run against them, and they're going to make them beat them with a nickel defense.
Favre gets it outside Chimura. 8 yards, perhaps, right now for an NFL update. Let's return to Joe Buck in Los Angeles.
All right, Pat, in Tampa Bay, the Lions are rolling. Rookie to rookie on a 53-yard touchdown throw. Charlie Batch to Jermaine Crowell, starting for the injured Herman Moore. They've added another 14-0 first quarter back to Minneapolis to Pat and John.
The Buccaneers really hurting physically. And the Lions always seem to play well in Tampa.
Yep, and again, the Minnesota Vikings here are in a nickel defense.
Home by Dixon. By Ed McDaniel, beg your pardon.
And I think that Mike Holmgren saw that and said, if they're going to play nickel, we have to be able to run at it. Look at what the Green Bay Packers did on their first 15 plays. You can see that they ran the ball 8 times, passed it 7 times, out of 13 different formations. So that's a typical Mike Holmgren or Green Bay mix. They want to give you a lot of looks early to see what your adjustments are going to be and then go to work on you after that. But the Vikings are showing them some different things on defense, too.
2 tight ends set up. And Favre sprints out. That'll be enough for the first to Robert Brooks.
But the Vikings have Robert Griffith, who's their strong safety. He's really spying Brett Favre, and he's right up there around the line of scrimmage, and he's waiting for a check through. And then he's also, anytime that Brett Favre runs, he's going to go with him. Watch him. He's right up here on the line of scrimmage. He's on the left side. He's right here. And you see that he's playing tight up there. They are not going to let Brett Favre hurt him with running because Robert Griffith is up there for anything short or for Brett Favre running.
4 wide receivers this time for the Pack. Screen pass coming. Derek Holmes, and Holmes cuts back and whirls into Viking territory. Gets to the 44-yard line of Minnesota.
The first game that Derek Holmes played for the Green Bay Packers was against the Minnesota Vikings, and he said he was just a special teams guy, didn't know anyone or anything. Now here he runs the screen perfectly. You have to let those defensive linemen get up like he did. Let John Randall go by, act like you're blocking him, get in underneath him, and Brett Favre throws the ball over him, and that was a perfect screen pass.
Again, 4 wideouts. Holmes hit right at the line of scrimmage by Jerry Ball.
Yeah, we talk about Gilbert Brown on the Green Bay side, and Jerry Ball is the equivalent. I mean, Jerry Ball is right here. Now look at his helmet. He has that paint to paint on the center, and his helmet is darn near over the ball. But
like
he's not going to let you get a run at them. And he just splits that. He's right between Frank Winters and Adam Timmerman. He just splits that thing and gets down.
That is a big ball.
For 12 years. Big old ball really plays a run.
Hard, and a pass is picked off by Hitchcock. Jimmy Hitchcock jumped on the square out. Favre was just a little bit late.
He was throwing it out there to Bill Schrader. What a pickup this guy has been. Jimmy Hitchcock has really been something special for these Minnesota Vikings. And you see Schrader's the outside receiver right there. He's going to run it out. Jimmy Hitchcock was watching Schrader, and he was looking back at Brett Favre, and he got the jump. Instead of jumping to the outside of Schrader, he jumped to the inside and picked it off.
58-yard touchdown run after the interception by Jimmy Hitchcock. And you're right. What a pickup he has been.
Fox NFL Sunday is brought to you by the new Dodge. It's about change. By Circuit City, answers in every department. Low prices all over the store. By Bud Light, for the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down. Make it a Bud Light. And by Adidas.
You know, that interception was a poor throw by Brett Favre. It was a good interception by Jimmy Hitchcock. But watch right here, Bill Schrader, he runs a poor pattern. When you're running out, you got to square it out. You see how he rounds it off? Now, by rounding that off, he gives Jimmy Hitchcock the inside angle to pick it off. And that's exactly what he did. Like I said, it was still a bad throw by Brett Favre, but it was a terrible pattern by Schrader.
This time, Berger kicks it into the stands behind the goalpost.
The candy bar is working now.
Yes, it is.
Berger is fueled.
10-0 Minnesota. Minnesota over Green Bay. 1:17 left to play in the first quarter. And the Packers ball at their own 20. Favre back to throw. For Freeman, just out of his reach.
You know, we watch Mitch Berger, and we know how well he's kicked today, and we see where he's getting his energy is out of his shoe. I've eaten a lot of Snickers in my life, but I've never kicked a ball like that.
You don't want to make a mistake when you reach in there.
Well, I know you don't. Whatever's in there, he's gonna snack on. But
a bite of Ingersoll would not be good. Two tight ends set up for Green Bay, 2nd and 10, and Favre again will throw it. Outside, caught by Derek Holmes, who broke the tackle. And Holmes, with an extra effort, gets up and gets about 9 yards. Orlando Thomas brought him down.
Like I said, this defense is really doing the job, and this is what the game is about thus far. It's about this Minnesota Viking defense. In fact, their offense has been on the field only 2 times, and they've had 2 3-and-outs. So leading 10-0, it's all about this. This is Coach Fazio here, who's the defensive coordinator, and he has the defenses on his wristband. You see his left wrist there? So he calls them into Ed McDaniel by the number. A lot like the Cowboys do with Troy Aikman on
third and 1. Minnesota blitzed on that 3rd and short, and nobody picked up.
That was Ed McDaniel. Ed McDaniel came right up the middle. As you said, no one picked him up, and Brett Favre had to throw it. That was Foge's call. That was old play number 7. He had that blitz. In fact, he had it underlined. And you're going to see it right here. Here comes McDaniel right there. He just comes straight up the middle. No one blocked him, and Brett Favre had to throw the ball just a second before he wanted to.
Landetta kicks away from Palmer, kicks it out of bounds. And that's a good punt. No return. Out of bounds on the 24. Thanksgiving Day, get a double dose of Fox Sports when Justin Leonard, Annika Sorensen, and Jim Colbert show up their short games at the Sun Microsystems Par 3 Challenge. That's followed by the Vikings battle with the Cowboys. It all starts at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here on Fox.
That's going to be fun, isn't it? We're just like the Vikings. We'll go from here, have a couple days, go down to Dallas, and get ready for the Vikings and the Cowboys on Thursday.
And that Sun Microsystems golf is a fun challenge, too.
Well, that's on before. That's when you're getting your turkey ready. You're watching that.
That's Robert Smith.
Like I said, I think the thing that Randall Cunningham now in this Minnesota Viking offense, they can kind of get conservative because their defense is playing so well and because the Packers aren't doing anything at all.
That's the end of the first quarter with the score: the Vikings 10, the Packers nothing. Fox NFL Sunday will continue after these messages and a word from your local Fox station. They hope that the temperature is always 67 degrees. Right now it is, but it'll get warmer as the day goes by. Inside the Metrodome, Moss moves in motion. And here is Cunningham. Here comes a blitz and a screen pass and a flag. Now Robert Smith would get a first down, but there's a flag on the play, and that's in the area of holding.
Yeah, you know, and the one thing that Randy Moss with his speed, does so well is he's a good decoy. I mean, this play is going to come back against the Vikings, but they put him out there. Everyone points to him. They run him in motion. They run him up the field, and then they screen in behind him. And just his speed.
Holding offense number 77. 10-yard penalty. Repeat. Second down.
Called against Stringer.
The funny thing is that's Corey Stringer, and that's away.
Away, yes.
Because Corey Stringer's right tackle, and that was a screen to the left side. But in Corey Stringer's defense, he's playing against Reggie White, and he's fighting for his life out there against Reggie.
2nd and 18. Drops the throw. The rush is on. The pass goes deep and is caught as he underthrew it by Randy Moss.
Yeah, and this is exactly what the Green Bay Packers said that they didn't want to do. They didn't want to be in man-to-man coverage. They came on a blitz that time. They get in man-to-man coverage. And here's Randy Moss out here. He just has so much speed. You see that he takes the corner and turns him, and then you can't outrun him. I mean, you can't outthrow him. So if you throw it anywhere, he is so big and so good, he's going to get it. If you can get it out there, he can outrun any corner in football. And if you throw it short, he's a good enough athlete. Just stop, come back, and get it. But on that play, the Vikings caught the Packers in man-to-man.
40-yard gain. Smith is hit by Reggie White.
All the things that the Packers talked about that they didn't want to happen is happening. Here's Reggie White here, and you can see that he's not only a pass rusher. When he sees Corey Stringer blocked down, he's going to come in and he's going to take on that trapper. That was Randall McDaniel, and he just took him on and just narrowed and shortened down that hole to nothing.
And Bonnie Holiday came all the way from the other side of the line with an assist on that play. looking for a place to go and finds one. And Randall Cunningham scrambles inside the Packer 30. Packer 40 make it down to the 37.
Yeah, the Packers did something on defense I haven't seen them do in a long time. They moved Reggie White in, and he played over the guard. And you see Reggie White is going to come. He's right here, and he's playing over David Dixon. David Dixon is a 350-pound guard, and he just gets in front of Reggie, and he does a good job on him. And Reggie, by jumping out like that, opened up the hole for Randall Cunningham to run in.
David Palmer in the backfield. And a direct snap to Palmer, and Palmer will get a Viking first down.
This guy is a valuable guy.
I haven't seen that before.
He was a wide receiver. They made a running back out of. This is an old single wing play. Remember the old single wing? They just have Palmer back here. They just snap him the ball. He has a fullback to his left who is really a backup tight end, DeLong, and he just gives him the lead on that play. Watch this. Here's Palmer. Here's DeLong right here. DeLong leads. Palmer starts to follow, makes a move on Gilbert Brown. He better make a move on Gilbert Brown or he would have been squashed.
First down, Minnesota. Here's Cunningham. Moss. Incomplete. Good coverage by Green Bay. Craig Newsom. And Newsom is down. Sharper came over.
That's the thing. See, here's Newsom here, and then as he comes in the post, you're going to see Sharper come in and then take away from Moss right there. You see Sharper come to the inside, and the ball had to be thrown between Newsom, the corner, and Sharper, the safety.
And Newsom is still down.
Newsom made a heck of a play. You know, Randall Cunningham on 2 passes to Randy Moss didn't get it out there. Had he gotten that out there, that could have been a touchdown.
Packers looking.
Fox NFL Sunday is brought to you by Volkswagen. On the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers. By First Union, your guide to the financial world. By Taco Bell. And by Energizer Advanced Formula Battery. No battery lasts longer.
Nothing Minnesota. And Newsom turned himself over. Here's what happened.
Yeah, you can see Darren Sharper, number 42, comes across, and right there, the collision is between Newsom and his own man, Sharper. And again, it's good to see Craig Newsom up and walking off the field. But again, that was good coverage. But had that ball been thrown deeper, it would have been a touchdown.
Rod Smith took his place. Right now, for an NFL update, let's return to Joe Buck in Los Angeles.
All right, Pat, already down 14-0. Tampa Bay fighting for their playoff lives. Get this, still for a 44-yard touchdown throw to Jacquez Green. His first career touchdown reception. Cuts the Detroit lead in half. Back to the Metrodome. Pat and John.
And here it's 10-0 Minnesota. Newsom over on the sideline.
Newsom, remember last year, Pat, had that serious knee injury. Was out the whole season. And Mike Holmgren said last night that he thought that this game he was just starting to get comfortable with that knee.
Replaced by Rod Smith. Cunningham. Caught by Moss. Stopped by Smith.
One thing that the Packers wanted to do that they're not doing, they're not getting to Randall Cunningham. Randall Cunningham had a lot of time, and when he has a lot of time, he can find these receivers. You see, because Randy Moss has so much speed, that corner is going to play off him.
You have to.
This is the most important thing right here, this pass protection. You know, if you are going to get Randy Moss open and let Randall Cunningham stand back there that long and pump the ball and pump the ball and pump the ball, he's going to eat you up.
Yep. Smith, nothing. Holiday from behind.
You know, one of the things that Denny Green was talking about yesterday is saying that we may run like this early. And you see, this is kind of an ugly play. There's nothing there. There's defenses swarming all over the place. But he says what we want to be able to do is run in the second half.
Reggie White and Bonnie Holiday.
I think now the Vikings are starting to wear down this Packer defense already.
They've been out there a long time. On this particular drive, 5 seconds to go on the clock. Evans. That's Robert Smith who made the catch. Evans. Cunningham faked to Evans and then pulled it back and threw it to Smith.
You know, one thing about Randall Cunningham, he's a different quarterback than the guy that we watched play for years in Philadelphia. And he always talks about how he's at peace with himself and how calm he is. And he really is. I mean, he's playing that way. I mean, just the way he stands back there and pumps and then throws. That time he comes out on a little bootleg very calmly and just hits Robert Smith with it.
Not just a different quarterback, a different person entirely.
Yeah, I mean, even when you talk to him, you know, he has that calmness along mixed in with a heck of a lot more confidence.
Yeah, Leroy Horde is deep. Cunningham hits the AstroTurf.
He wanted that third down. We talked about the Packers' first 15. This is what the Vikings did on their first 15.
Almost the same thing.
7 runs, 8 passes, 13 different formations. One of those formations had David Palmer really as the quarterback, the old single-wing quarterback. I don't know where we put that in the formation.
Unusual.
Oh, that would throw the computer off.
Anderson from 29 yards out is good again. And he doesn't miss very often under these conditions. 13-0 Minnesota. The 3 cheeses.
Well,
not room for the middle cheese.
Well, that's what the rule is. If you have a cheese head on your right and a cheese head on your left, then you have to hold your cheese head in your hands.
Now, who made that rule?
That's a rule. It's a Green Bay rule. It's a Wisconsin thing that the middle cheese head keeps the cheese head on his lap.
Berger sails his kickoff over the head of Royal Preston and out of the end zone.
That fuel has kicked in, hasn't it?
Yes, it really has. Green Bay will start from the 20, as they have every time he's kicked off. Here on Fox, Brett Favre breaks the Packers out of the huddle. They trail 13-0.
And the Vikings are playing in base defense now with 4 defensive backs on first down.
Freeman. First down, Green Bay. Corey Fuller brought him down. Here's Mitch Berger.
Yeah, he's kicked 4 kickoffs and he's had 4 touchbacks. And when you get 4, then you have to do a double. You know, I mean, you have to go for it twice. And he's had so many kicks. And you put it back in your shoe. That shoe's his punting shoe. He has a punting shoe and a kicking shoe.
Holmes, the ball carrier, stopped by Robert Griffith.
You know, it was interesting that Derek Holmes came over from Buffalo, where he was number 44.
Yep.
And when he got to the Green Bay Packers, he wanted number 22 because his running back coach for Buffalo was Elijah Pitts. And when Elijah Pitts played for the Green Bay Packers, he was number 22.
There's Elijah.
Yep. He was one of the great Packers and a great coach and
a wonderful guy.
And the father of Ron Pitts, who was with us and passed away this year.
Favre. Schrader. That's another Green Bay first down. Hitchcock.
This is a better pattern by Schrader here. Remember the last time he ran an out on Hitchcock, he just kind of rounded the thing and Hitchcock got a position on him. That time Bill Schrader came down and he drove Hitchcock off and then he got his body between Hitchcock and the ball.
Favre is Packers 10 out of 15 as they move close to midfield.
Those aren't bad numbers if it weren't for the 2 turnovers, the interception, and the ball he dropped.
Screen pass to Holmes, and it's well set. Got a first down. Dixon Edwards made the stop.
This is a pass that the Packers have had some success with here. Just run the screen. See, again, you let those defensive linemen rush. You see, they think they have Favre, and then once you get by them, then you sneak out into that area, and that's exactly what Derek Holmes does. And then you bring your offensive line down in front as blockers, and that's the screen.
Another Packer first down. They've been able to move the ball, but the turnovers have done them in. Holmes cuts inside the 35, about the 33, stopped by Griffith.
Yeah, and that's the thing that they have to do. They have to be able to run the ball, because that not only takes the pressure off of Brett Favre, but it takes the pressure of pass protection off the offensive line. Here's a little counter play. You see, both Holmes and Henderson, the fullback, started like they were going to the left. Then they countered and came back to the right.
7-yard pickup, 2nd and 3.
And when you have fast linebackers, that counter stuff will affect them because they react so quickly to the first thing they see.
Favre. That's Michael Blair, who's the third. The Packers only have 3 running backs. That's Blair.
And watch John Randall here, Pat, and you'll see what he did to Ross Verba and why Brett Favre had to throw that ball so quickly to Blair. See, Ross Verba is not supposed to give away the inside, but that time he did give away the inside to John Randall. You know what happens is sometimes you get back and you want to get up to take care of Randall's quickness, and in doing so you stand straight up, and then he'll bull rush you and use his power. That's exactly what he did on that last pass rush.
He can read all those things that you're doing.
During the whole time, he's talking to you the whole time.
Timeout Green Bay. They have 2 left. Brett Favre has the Packers at the Minnesota 30, down 13-0. They need to get something on the board. 7 different players have caught passes from Brett Favre. 1st and 10. Holmes. Inside the 25 to the 24. Derek Alexander tripped him up. Halftime and the pregame show people, of course, are here at the Metrodome. JB, Terry, Howie, and Chris. Joe Buck will be reporting from the studios back in Los Angeles along with Ron Pitts.
Now, Chris Collinsworth has gotten so big now that he has his own designated seat warmer. So they have the kid, and he just sits in that seat to keep it warm for Collinsworth. So when he gets in there, he has a warm seat to talk with.
Gotten so big, huh?
Yeah, he's big.
Chamora makes the first down catch for Green Bay, and they move to the Minnesota 15.
And then Howie next to him. Howie doesn't need a seat warmer because he brings his own seat warmer. See, Howie always has his seat warm. He's all ready. And then Terry doesn't need one, and then JB doesn't need one. But Collinsworth is the only guy. And see, in fact, Terry, he's so warm there. He doesn't even have a jacket on. The other guys have jackets on, but Collinsworth has the designated seat warmer.
His chin is warm, at least. Terry. Favre has time, wheeled it outside to Henderson. Oh, he slid down, and he had him.
He had one there, too, but that was about his 3rd or 4th read.
Yep.
He was trying to throw the ball to the left. He started to the left, then he went to the middle, and then he came out to William Henderson and the right. Now, watch him here. He's going to come, and he's going to be a play fake. He looks to the left, he pumps, he comes back, he looks in the middle, and his 3rd read. His 3rd read is out there to William Henderson.
He was looking for the 3rd window.
Yeah, but that was kind of late, and then when he got to that 3rd window, he threw a bad ball.
2nd down, this is Holmes. Down to about the 12. No penalty marker down.
I like Derek Holmes. I like the way he's running.
Pretty quick.
He's a halfback, and he's quick, but he runs like a fullback. He gets those shoulders square and takes it in there. And you just watch the way he gets turned now. He brings that power. I mean, see, once he gets the shoulder square right there, that's when he just turns it up and he starts running, trying to make someone miss. And if you don't make a miss, then just run over what's left.
Henderson is the lone setback this time. 2 tight ends. That's Tyrone Davis.
At some time, Pat, they're going to figure out anytime they put Tyrone Davis in as a tight end, he's not a tight end because he's not a blocker. He's like another wide receiver, and you better get him covered because when they get inside the 20 and number 81 is in there for the Packers, that is the guy that Brett Favre is going to.
And those defensive backs better be ready to tackle this guy.
Yeah, because he's big. He's over 250 pounds. You see him. He just starts on one side, comes all the way across the backfield in motion. Corey Fuller misses a tackle, as you say, and Ty Davis runs it in the end zone.
13-7 is the extra point by Longwell is good. Tyrone Davis had 2 touchdowns last week against the Giants. They have to be careful. They have to sort of sneak him in there.
Yeah, because you know that he's not going to block.
Yesterday we spoke to Brett Favre about what they have to do against the Minnesota defense.
What we have to do in a game like this is short, quick passes, complete the ball, keep the chains moving, run the ball effectively. And I've said this before, that effective running is not a 150-yard rusher. It's getting positive yardage every time you run the football. You don't want to be in long yardage situations against this team.
You know, and on that drive, Pat, Brett Favre was 6 out of 7 for 61 yards, but he's really moving the ball around. In fact, he threw it to 6 different receivers. So his 6 completions were all to different guys. But again, Ty Davis is a guy that they'll put in any time in the game to throw the ball to him, but they really like him once they get in the red zone, which of course is inside the 20-yard line.
Yeah, he's on the kickoff team. Davis is. David Palmer back deep, and the Vikings would like him to handle it. On the last drive, Favre 6 out of 7. This kickoff will be brought back by Palmer. Palmer finally taken down at about the 23 after delayed appearance by the Packers' Kerry Cooks.
You know, you can feel the momentum turn on that play, that the Packers kind of figured out what the Viking defense was doing. They got into a little rhythm. And now I think it's important that the Vikings come back and take back that thing and get in their rhythm and take back the momentum again.
Green Bay defensive coordinator Chris Shermer.
Chris Shermer, you can tell by that look, that's a look that's looking for a turnover.
Well, they haven't had one yet. They haven't gotten one yet. Haven't had one.
They've given up 2.
Yeah, right.
That's what he was looking at.
Down Bernardo Harris swarms on Cunningham.
Bernardo Harris was right up there in the line of scrimmage, and they didn't count him. Watch him. He's number 55 here, and he is going to just hit that hole. You see Dixon works out there, sliding to the right side. They slide out there to block Brian Williams. No one touches Bernardo Harris, and he gets a free highway right to Randall Cunningham.
Robert Smith made a futile attempt at stopping him. 2nd and 19. To Smith. Nothing doing.
Yeah, and this is a situation. This is a Fritz Shermer defense here, where you put that pressure on him on 1st down, you get the loss, and then you stop him on 2nd down. Now you get him in this 3rd and long, and here's a situation he really likes, because he can go 3-man line here, which he'll do, and then either press him and put pressure on him, or he can go to an 8-man zone defense and make Randall Cunningham throw into a lot of coverage.
He's got Dotson in the middle, Holiday and Reggie White outside, and 2 linebackers inside. And they take advantage of that big hole, the Vikings do, and they get close to a 1st down. I don't know if they got it or not. It was to Robert Tate.
And there was no one on Robert Tate. I mean, there's no one covering him at all. I mean, he's right here. You're just going to see that he's going to come off here. No one covers him. Randall Cunningham sees that. He sees, he's looking at Butler out there. He sees Leroy Butler come in, and there's no one out there at all on Tate.
They're going to measure, and here come the sticks. It is close. It is a first down, Minnesota. They really needed that. 2 minutes left in the first half with the Vikings leading the Packers 13-7.
Fox NFL Sunday is brought to you by Miller Lite, an official sponsor of the NFL and Super Bowl 33.
Watch on that big third down play. Here's Leroy Butler. He's looking right in at Randall Cunningham. He leaves on a blitz. Robert Tate is here, and he just runs here. Randall Cunningham sees Butler coming. Tate points to him, and Randall Cunningham just throws the ball to Tate. Pat Terrell was the closest guy to him, and he was 12 yards off.
And he really couldn't afford to miss because there's nobody behind him.
There was an opening in that defense. Randall Cunningham found it. Rick Shermer took a gamble.
Cunningham has the ball batted backwards. That's by Santana Dotson.
One of the things that Reggie White has always said about Santana Dotson is when Santana Dotson came here, that then he didn't have to play inside anymore because Santana Dotson was so good and could get a pass rush from inside.
Yep.
You see what he did on that one? And Randall McDaniel is one of the best guards in football. And Santana Dotson just took Randall McDaniel and pushed him right into the backfield, darn near right into Randall Cunningham.
Three-man rush this time, and Chris Carter makes the catch at midfield.
That's the guy, if you say, who is the man for this team with the receiver, it still has to be Chris Carter. And Randy Moss is coming in here. Jake Reed does his thing. Robert Smith runs the ball. When you're talking about pass catching for the Minnesota Vikings, it's still Chris Carter.
Yep. In a clutch situation, he's the guy they go to. He's the guy that produces. First and 10. Here's Cunningham. Has time. Steps up. Has a lot of time. Incomplete. That's the kind that could have been intercepted.
That's the old playground football. You see where Randall Cunningham was watching Chris Carter, and the Packers were in a zone, and Randall Cunningham was directing Chris Carter. You're going to see him come back here on the playback. Now watch him look. Now he's looking at Carter, and he's telling him, keep coming. You see, keep coming, and he wants to throw it into that next window. Carter never did get into that next window, but look, if he would have looked out here at Randy Moss, that could have been 6 points.
Yep.
I don't know how you can let Randy Moss go like that unless you've seen the ball in the air.
Second and 10. Randy Moss.
There's nothing about this guy that looks like a rookie, is there?
No, look at his feet.
I mean, this guy is just amazing, and you watch him in practice, and he goes like this all the time. I mean, he has moves upon moves. That was a double move. Catch that ball, keep both feet in bounds. He looks like he's been doing that in this league for about 10 years.
Well, he's had a great teacher, Chris Carter.
Yeah, he went down and worked out with Chris Carter, but they didn't work on catching. Chris Carter never catches footballs in the offseason.
That's amazing. He just works on getting better. This is Leroy Horde running over people. Horde to the 10. Leroy Horde down at the 5-yard line.
Boy, as you say, running over people, Mike Pryor was the safety in there, and Horde, after he got through the line and by the linebackers, he looked up number 39. Look, see, he gets through the line, by the linebackers, and now he's going to look up Pryor. And he looked him up and ran right over him. Well, he is a load.
Yep.
And when you get him through, now watch, once he gets through here, he's going to look up Pryor, and he sees Pryor, and he says, this guy's not going to get me down. He just lowered the shoulder, but the key thing, when he lowered the shoulder, he kept his feet going.
And he looked like he was looking for somebody to hit.
I think that was 39 in a white jersey. Woo!
Coming up on the Visa halftime report, we'll throw it down to JB and the guys for first half analysis. Then Joe Buck and Ron Pitts will have the scores and highlights from around the league, plus our Fox Sports ticker. We'll have up to the second stats. That's all coming up on the Visa halftime report. The boys are getting ready.
Yeah, and see, the only guy that really has a warm seat is Chris Collinsworth, but everything's okay. They'll be able to handle that. But I'll tell you, that was good blocking by the offensive line there, and Leroy Horde, he ran like an NFL back.
1:02 left, no backs this time. First and goal at the 5. Horde comes back now and takes the handoff, and it stopped at about the 4, maybe 5. Gosh, how fast that happened.
Well, you know, they do things with Leroy Horde. You know, Robert Smith, of course, is their running back, and they bring Horde in on short yardage, goal line, and as a pass protector.
Well, remember that big pass completion to Robert Tate, where he was left uncovered. That got him out of a deep hole, and since then they've been moving.
Yep. The Packers took a gamble and lost.
Cunningham. Touchdown. Carter. Nobody can get open down there like he does.
We're just saying, when you get and you need a first down or you need a touchdown, Chris Carter's the man. He's the guy that they're going to look for. So conversely, you would think that on defense, he's the guy that you would want to stop. And that's what the Packers are doing. They're playing zone. You see Chris Carter just read the zone. He saw Darren Sharper on the inside, so he stopped and just worked a little back to the outside, and Randall Cunningham hit him perfectly.
The extra point is good. Yesterday we talked to Randall Cunningham about Chris Carter.
They can't just key on Chris anymore because, you know, with all the weapons that we're using, it's really opened up the game for him. He'll have a higher average per catch this year, which is great. But if it's ever a crucial situation, I mean, he is the man to lean on.
And that's a crucial situation, Pat. Anytime you need a first down, that's when he looks for Chris Carter. And anytime you get down on the goal line and you need a touchdown, that's when he looks to Chris Carter.
We were talking to him yesterday morning, and I asked him, I said, do you ever run full speed? And he said, not really.
No, because he always wants to be under control. And those guys that are under control, their head is always still. Their head never moves, so the ball never bounces.
Minnesota 20, Green Bay 7, 24 seconds left to play in the first half. Berger teeing it up.
You know, that was the 29th touchdown between Chris Carter and Randall Cunningham. Of course, that goes back to the
Eagle days
with the Philadelphia Eagle. You know what I like about Chris Carter is he is in such good condition. I was watching him practice Friday. I mean, his motor can go all day, and that's what he says. That's why he works so hard in the off season, because he wants to be as good a player in the fourth quarter as he is in the first quarter.
And I only work on my weakness, he says. A lot of people work on things they do best. Not Chris Carter. Preston has the ball again. Go through his hands out of the end zone.
You know, every kid in the world is gonna watch this Mitch Berger and want to be a kicker, because that's one thing in football that you can practice by yourself, punting and kicking, and they're all going to go for that candy bar to it and think that it's in the candy bar. I think it's in the timing and the leg and the swing and all those things. But
has he had it up, you think?
No, well, he says what happens is you have a pregame meal like 4 hours before the game, and then, you know, you get into the game, and then it's 5 or 6 hours since you had anything to eat, and he wants to eat during the game.
Derek Holmes stopped stop by Dwayne Rudd.
Yeah, the big thing about that drive, we were talking about momentum, how the Packers had gotten the momentum, and we said that the Vikings have to come back and take it over. They did exactly that.
They certainly did. And that's the end of the first half with the score: the Vikings 20, the Packers 7. Fox NFL Sunday will continue with the Visa halftime report after these messages and a word from your local Fox station. Minnesota 20, Green Bay 7. We're at the half. This week's You Call It. Which team, the Packers or the Vikings, will have fewer first downs in the second half of today's game? Join us on the internet. Log on to foxsports.com and good luck. This week's Ask the Pros question comes from Chad Simpson of Kensington, Minnesota. John, do you think the Viking defense is strong enough to stop a good running game?
Yeah, I think they are, unless they were to get behind. I think if they got behind and someone was playing downhill on them, I think they'd have a tough time. But with this offense, you know, and scoring so many points, and the other team is always playing from behind, you know, like the Packers are going to have to do in the second half, this defense is plenty good to stop a good running game because they have Jerry Ball in the middle, who's a good plugger, and then they have very quick and fast linebackers that that can take on a block but can also catch it. And then they have a good tackling secondary.
Unless they get a lot of turnovers.
Well, that's the thing that they do. I mean, because they're so active, they make things happen, and I don't think that you would be able, to have a steady dose of running the ball on them.
Right now, let's go down to Pam Oliver.
Well, Pat talked to both coaches at halftime. First, Mike Holmgren, whose team is down by 13 points. He says the biggest difference in this ball game is simply this: Brett Favre's 2 turnovers and the 10 points that resulted from that. Dennis Green, meanwhile, is a happy man. Glad to see 20 points up on the scoreboard. He wants to see even more aggressive effort in the second half. He feels defensively they can be much more aggressive. Back to you.
All right, Pam, thank you very much. You were just talking about those turnovers. Mike Holmgren's got them on his mind, too.
Well, and I think the other thing that was so big was, after Green Bay got the momentum when they scored, then Minnesota came and took it right back on that last drive, and that run by Leroy Horde was a big run.
2 turnovers by Green Bay, both of them by Brett Favre. One, he hit his ball, hit the ball on his hip that came loose. The Vikings recovered. And the other, the interception by Hitchcock. So Minnesota will get first crack at it as Longwell lines up to kick it off. Longwell's kick sails deep into the end zone where it's handled by Palmer, and he won't bring it out.
They just said that Craig Newsome, the injured Packer corner, will not return. Remember that play where he ran into his own player, Darren Sharper, and hurt his neck? He also lacerated his knee, and he had to have stitches in his knee, and they said that the reason that he's not going to return is because of the knee. You can see here, remember this collision right here, that when he went down, it was originally his neck, and then when they got to the sideline, they found out that he had a lacerated knee, but I also see him in there right now.
Is that him or Rod Smith?
Yeah, that is Rod Smith in there.
And that's a good play by Rod Smith. Randy Moss made the reception. Smith up in a hurry.
And that's the thing that they're doing. Anytime they find the cornerback, remember earlier they were doing this, they find the corner. If he gives a 10-yard cushion or more, they're just going to stop the wide receiver, get him the ball, and see if he can make the corner miss.
Right.
Earlier we saw Craig Newsome make that tackle, and that time it was his backup, Rod Smith.
2nd and 7. 3-yard gain on that pass completion. Here comes the Packer blitz, and the Vikings pick it up well. And it's for Randy Moss, who got it. He can't run. There's a flag on the play back at the line of scrimmage.
Ooh, illegal hands to the face against the Minnesota Vikings. But that's one thing that Randall Cunningham says about Randy Moss, and Randy Moss says about Randy Moss. He tells them, hey, just chunk it out there. There's no way that you can throw that ball farther than I can run.
To the face, number 62. Half the distance to the goal. Second down.
Called against Jeff Christie. And that takes a big gain back.
Here's Jeff Christie. He's the center there. Blocking against Gilbert Brown. You see, he starts out against Gilbert Brown. See that right hand go up there? And he gets him right under the face mask. But what a throw by Randall Cunningham. What a separation and a catch by Randy Moss.
He turned on the Jets, didn't he?
I'll tell you, when you're Jeff Christie and you only weigh 285 pounds and you're blocking against Gilbert Brown 360, you just got your hands up there to grab anything you can.
You better bring all the equipment.
You know, but that's the thing that Randy Moss adds. And I mean, if there's any guy in this game that has more speed than anyone else, it's number 84 in purple. And this is the type of thing you can do when you have that kind of speed. You can just throw the ball as far as you can and let him run under it.
And you're not going to overthrow him.
Randall Cunningham says that Randy Moss always tells him, hey, just chunk it out there and I'll get it.
Come on.
He says sometimes, they'll be on the 20-yard line like they are now. And he'll say, chunk it into the end zone, I'll get it.
Chunk it.
Yeah, just like he thinks that Randall Cunningham can chunk the ball 85 yards.
2nd and 17. Cunningham looks quickly. Pass is complete. That was to Jake Reed. Yesterday we spoke to Randall Cunningham about Randy Moss.
I came in with an open idea saying this is probably a great kid, great player, and he was more than I thought he was. So when you look at a kid like this, you know that the sky is the limit for him. As long as he stays focused, he can do anything that he wishes to accomplish. So I see his focus on being one of the great players. I see he can be a Hall of Fame player. He can definitely be a Pro Bowl player. Even this year, he can be a Pro Bowl player.
Cunningham backs out of the pressure, and he's going to take off, and there's a flag on the play. But Cunningham gets all the way out to the 39-yard line. A penalty marker down.
Yeah, I mean, this Randall Cunningham is so amazing. I mean, we see him throw a deep pass. We see him throw a short pass. We see him run with the ball and realize that just 2 weeks ago he had surgery. Played a game last Sunday, had surgery on Monday, played last Sunday. This is the second week. He said it didn't bother him at all.
Defense, number 42. 5-yard penalty from the end of the run. First down.
Holding call against Green Bay's Darren Sharper.
Darren Sharper is out here on Jake Reed, and you can see that he just grabs the jerseys. I mean, one of the things that the Green Bay Packers felt with these wide receivers is they had to be physical. And that's Darren Sharper trying to be physical, but in trying to do that, he just grabbed a bunch of cloth.
1st and 10, Minnesota. Cunningham drops to throw it. Pass is deflected. Looked like Dotson again got his hands up.
Yeah, that's the second one that Santana Dotson got. And again, it's from that same side, rushing on the left side of Cunningham. Here's Santana Dotson here. And just watch, see again, he gets Randall McDaniel standing up too straight. And he just pushes him back.
Yep.
And then he gets in that lane. Green Bay Packers are going to have to sign. They're worried about, losing their coach, Mike Holmgren, but there's also some players that are up.
Antonio Freeman, Santana Dotson. That's Robert Smith. Very little. Maybe a yard, maybe two.
I think it's interesting that everyone says that Mike Holmgren isn't going to be back. And I mean, you really get that feeling. And talking to players and coaches in the organization.
But he doesn't say that.
Yeah, but he doesn't say that because he won't talk about it, but he doesn't deny it. But you never hear where he's going to go. I mean, if I would have to say, will Mike Holmgren be back coaching this Green Bay Packers team next year? I would say no.
You would say no?
Yeah, I would say no. He's not going to be back. But if you'd say, where is he going to be? I don't know that either.
I think he's right here with Green Bay. We'll see. Horde had it and dropped it. It was a perfect strike from Cunningham. Leroy Horde, not known as a pass receiver, but
and not known as a good place to throw a pass, because even had he caught that ball, that wouldn't have been a first down. Tyrone Williams there was a zone, and Tyrone Williams was in that zone, so Ford was running right into him, and he would have been tackled or knocked out of bounds.
There's flag on the play as Berger hangs it high and deep to Roel Preston, who signaled fair catch at the 11 and made it, but there's a penalty marker down.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because that flag came out quickly. Now, if it's against the return team before the ball is kicked, but it's not against the return team, that could be a first down for the, if we're holding, could be a first down, but it's not. It's going to be against the Minnesota Vikings anyway. But there's always, pre-kick and post-kick.
Illegal formation.
No play.
Kicking team. 6 men on the line of scrimmage.
No.
5-yard penalty. Repeat. 4th down.
Got to have 7 up there.
Yeah, you can have as many more than 7 as you want, but they only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see, and then there's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So they only have 5 men on the line of scrimmage, unless that outside guy is on the line of scrimmage.
Well, he's not.
No, well, he's
close.
not. So that's the thing. So they did only have 5 men on the line of scrimmage.
So Berger will kick it again. Roel Preston has been sort of taken out of the game by Berger. He's kicked so well, Preston can be dangerous.
This is such a big plus that the Minnesota Vikings have, because, as we said earlier, that with the punting and the kickoff of Mitch Berger, every time the Packers or any opponent, the Vikings get the ball, they're looking at an 80-yard field.
That's been the case. This is another good kick. And it's going to take Preston back. It bounced, and they down it at the 6. It hit about the 1 and bounced backwards. So maybe they shouldn't have taken that penalty. Minnesota 20, Green Bay 7, 11:40 left in the third. Green Bay ball back at their own 6-yard line. Brad Johnson, his injured thumb wrapped now, not in a cast. Favre retreats, looks right, throws left.
Just to talk about, Pat, again, that illegal, having 6 men in the line of scrimmage. You see, this was a man on the first punt that was off the line of scrimmage. Now, if we just change and show the next one, which is legal, you see both guys up on the line of scrimmage, and they had 7 up there.
You have to have 7.
So that was the difference between 1, illegal, B, legal. Just in case people were wondering the difference between legal and illegal and punt formation.
On first down, Favre to throw to Bill Schrader.
One thing about Bill Schrader, he runs a lot better hook than he does an out.
Yes, he does.
Remember the out that he threw out there was intercepted, and the hook, because he's so big, when he turns, he just a hook is you just stop and button hook or hook back towards your quarterback, and he runs that pattern well. The out, not so well.
The out, Hitchcock picked off for a Minnesota touchdown.
The out went the other way, You haven't heard that word in a long time, have you? Button hook?
No.
They used to call it a long time ago.
Oh, yeah. Henderson is hammered by Corey Fuller.
He knocked him into a complete spinner. Holy moly, that was Dwayne Rudd. Watch Dwayne Rudd come up here. He's going to hit Henderson right there, and he knocked him in a complete 360 twice.
Yeah.
He did after Rudd hits him. Watch him. He does 2 360s. 1 360, 2 360s. Now that is a football hit. I'm going to take that guy right to put him in the all-Madden team right now.
Looks like a schoolyard game.
Holy.
Favre
made him look like a top.
That's home straight ahead with the draw play for about 4 or 5, about a yard shy of the first down.
If the Minnesota Vikings linebackers hit like that guy that asked the question, can the Vikings stop a good runner?
The halftime.
And Dwayne Rudd hits a guy like that in a 360-degree double spinner. Yep, you sure can.
That guy's a heck of a young linebacker, Dwayne Rudd.
reason that Ed McDaniel is a middle linebacker. Remember, Ed McDaniel was a weak side linebacker, and they had to get Rudd in there. It was a top draft choice, and so they moved Ed McDaniel in as middle linebacker and put Rudd as a weak side linebacker, and both of them have done extremely well. Because that Ed McDaniel's a player, too.
Yes, and he always has been. A real competitor. He's sort of the leader of the defense. Favre gives to Holmes. Holmes hammers across midfield into Viking territory to the 47. Dwayne Rudd made the stop. Rudd's just 22 years old. He's got a great future.
Well, and the thing that he can do is he can get you when you run at him, and he can also get you because of the speed when you run away from him. You see that they ran away from him, and he just comes right down the line. And then the other thing about Dwayne Rudd is not only is he quick, but when he gets there, he's a very good tackler.
Second. Flag on the play. Brett Favre kept it.
Well, there's flags all over the place. There's a plethora of flags. Is that a word, plethora?
Plethora.
Plethora of flags.
That means a lot of them.
Well, they form a triangle. There's one here, one over there, and one
Ball
back.
start, offense, right guard. 5 yards, it remains, second down.
To play before. Here's Orlando Thomas here trying to get everyone in the right position, and he doesn't get them. He's trying to get them back and call a play, and luckily the Minnesota Vikings weren't set. Thomas didn't get them set, but they just ran right into him.
Second and 10. Hands off to Holmes. Hit by Griffith.
You talk about not being able to run and how it puts a lot of pressure on the quarterback, which it does, but it puts a lot of pressure on the offensive line too, because they have to pass protect. Then it puts a lot of pressure on the receivers to get open because you see a lot of nickel defense, and I think one of the reasons this Packer offensive line hasn't been as effective this year as they were last year is that they don't have the top running back. But Derek Holmes is giving them a little injection today.
He sure is. Two tight ends. Favre is slung out of bounds, shy of the first down. No place to go. Dwayne Rudd.
Yep, and that's the speed we were talking about. Dwayne Rudd just took Brett Favre and threw him right into Dennis Green. You see, again, they can come back like they're playing zone, and then they're fast enough to run. And watch him. He's just going to pull him, twist him, and push him right into the coach.
Yep. You see him close. Dwayne Rudd, he is quick.
Yeah, because, he wasn't up and run. He was back in pass defense in his zone, and he had to come out of that and up and make the play.
Landetta's kick sails to Palmer, who signals fair catch and makes it at the 17, where Minnesota will take over. The Vikings lead it 20-7 with 6:22 left in the third. World's funniest, 7-6 Central. Here on Fox. The Vikings 20, the Packers 7. Robert Smith, who's been held in check most of the day.
See, this is a problem when you play in an indoor stadium on the road. You see what Ross Verba has to do? He can't even look at John Randall. He has to look in to see the ball snapped, and then in doing so, by the time the ball is snapped, John Randall is already around him by the time Ross Verba gets his head back. They're always talking about crowd noise and the dome and the problems. That is the biggest problem right there, the offensive tackle.
Here comes Cunningham. Pass is caught by Andrew Glover, the tight end. And they'll move those sticks.
At some point, you have to make the statement about this Minnesota Vikings. So many weapons.
Yep.
You talk about Jake Reed and Chris Carter and Randy Moss. And then Andrew Glover, the tight end, comes across here. You see him. He starts over there. Now he just starts across. Randall Cunningham is bootlegging to his left, which is the same side that the tight end is coming across on. That, to me, has always been the toughest pass to defend in football. The bootleg with the crossing pattern.
Here's Cunningham. comes the blitz. The ball slipped out of there.
That was a corner blitz that time, Pat. That was Tyrone Williams.
Yep.
Tyrone Williams was out here as a corner. Watch him here. He looks like he's going to cover here. Then he's going to sneak up, and then he comes on a blitz. Now, that's a tough one to see.
Boy, yeah.
I mean, who would expect this to come from here? And that's exactly what he did. He started to slow up a little. Then he saw Cunningham hadn't thrown yet.
And hadn't seen him yet.
Then he comes with a burst. He's not going to see him. He's not expecting him at all. I mean, of all the guys you expect to come, it's not Tyrone Williams when he was that far off your wide receiver.
2nd and 10. 5:01 left, third quarter. Cunningham drops. Has time and throws. Picked off by Tyrone Williams. Williams gives the Packers the ball in Minnesota territory.
He better watch out. I think that's delay a game or something. Didn't they put a penalty in for that?
If they remember it.
Yeah, but Tyrone Williams, that was a heck of a play. He comes on a blitz the play before that, and then the next play, he intercepts one.
And Green Bay takes over.
Here's Jake Reed. Here's Tyrone Williams. And you see as Jake Reed comes across, he's going to fall down. This is the guy that Randall Cunningham's trying to throw to. See, Jake Reed goes down there. Randall Cunningham throws the ball anyway, and Tyrone Williams is the only one in that area standing up.
Two tight ends set up. Tyrone Davis makes the reception from Favre, a low throw. Favre had to hurry.
You know, one of the things about moving the chains that the Packers have tried to do, they've kind of eliminated their deep passing. In fact, his longest completion, Brett Favre, today is 16 yards. So I think that, sometimes that's good. That ball control, move the chains, get rid of the ball quickly, don't take a sack. But you also have to stretch the defense.
Brooks and Freeman are to the right. The handoff is to Holmes, who's hit immediately by Jerry Ball.
Yeah, that was the other thing we talked about the Minnesota Vikings stopping the runners. That's what Jerry Ball is in there for. And that's why it's hard to run inside, because he's in there just as a run stopper. You see him coming out now. He's going to have his whole 350 pounds in that hole.
And Jerry Ball is out of there right now, 3rd and 6.
He's in such good shape, he doesn't even need a drink to the sideline.
Somebody moved in the Packer offensive line. You saw the Vikings pointing, and they'll move them back 5.
One thing they do is they take that nose tackle, whether it's Jerry Ball or in that case, Derek Alexander.
Ball start, offense, number 63. 5 yards, remains, 3rd down.
Adam Timmerman.
And they take as much of the ball. Watch how they get up there in the ball. And I think that gets guys moving. You see that? And the linebacker's moving up there. Now, that isn't to draw them off sides. I mean, they just had their nose tackle up in the gap, and then they just walk a linebacker up. And sometimes when it's noisy, anything you see move, you think the ball is being snapped. And that's what Adam Timmerman did.
3rd and 11. Two tight ends for the Packers. Protection is good this time, or was. Randall has Favre, and down he goes.
But as he's been looking all day, here's John Randall out here. He's been going all day trying to get out there, trying to get on Brett Favre. He started over in the guard, Rivera, and then he goes to Verba, and he really split and beat both of them. He lined up in that gap between Rivera and Verba, worked on Rivera first, then Verba, and then got a sack.
Landetta's punt sails down to Palmer, who catches it at the 9. John Randall had the paint on before the game. He's been fined a couple of times for that. He said, it's part of my warm-up regimen. He took it off when the game started.
Fox NFL Sunday is brought to you by Southwest Airlines, proud sponsor of the NFL and official airline of the Super Bowl. By IBM, are you ready for e-business? By the all-new Alero by Oldsmobile, start something. And by Citizen, today more than ever, Citizen is how the world tells time.
The Mall of America, you know what used to be there, John?
That used to be the old Metropolitan Stadium.
Bloomington, yeah.
Yep, they call it the old Met. In fact, when I was coach with the Raiders, we played the Vikings in the old Met.
Many games there. This could get cold. Moss makes the reception, gets on the ground.
Tell you, that was big defense, though, for the Minnesota Vikings last year, because remember they had the turnover. Newsom got that interception, and then that was a big break for the Packers. And then that Viking defense went in there and just shut them out. And then, of course, the big third down play was John Randall.
And the penalty before that against Green Bay.
Right, Randall was a tackle in the Keenum on a stunt with Kylie Long, and that was a big sack.
To Palmer, kept the ball and threw it to Andrew Glover. Don't forget Thanksgiving Day. Get a double dose of Fox Sports with Justin Leonard, Monica Sorenstam, and Jim Colbert show off the short games at the Sun Microsystems Par 3 Challenge, followed by the Vikings battle against the Cowboys. It all starts at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Both events fit well on Thanksgiving Day.
And one of the things that, you know, the Vikings have really been protecting Randall Cunningham, so if they can keep that up, he'll be fresh again for Thursday.
Smith.
And then we're going to get started. Right after this game, we're going to get on the bus. This is new bus, by the way.
Yeah.
And we're going to get on here, and we're going to go down to Dallas. Now, right now, it looks kind of stark. I mean, there's nothing out there. There's nothing in the oven.
I've never seen it look like that.
No, stark. It looks stark. But on Thursday, it's going to be packed with food. We're going to have, like, big old turkeys here. We're going to have all the legs and all the stuff and the stuffing around here. Some of the stuff's going to go out the window, out the door. We're going to have so much stuff there to be unbelievable.
Smith from behind on second down by George Kuntz.
In fact, we're looking for turkeys now. You know, I mean, we haven't gotten them yet. Well, you don't want to.
Bet I say that.
Well, I know. Well, if you're a turkey,
you won't have any room to sleep.
Why not?
You'll get all turkeys. You want no room for us.
No. Well, I mean, but we're looking for the one that we're going to get, and the one that we're going to get we haven't gotten yet, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
There's a lot of nervous turkeys around this country.
Especially those six-legged turkeys are really nervous.
Yeah, some of them, they grow them between now and then, too.
It's Cunningham. Whistles blow all over the place. Flag on the play.
One of the things that Denny Green was talking about in having to play today and then go play in Dallas.
Prior to the snap, ball start, offense number 84. 5 yards, it remains third down.
Now you might have all those turkeys.
Well, I'm just looking at these. You see, what we do is we kind of collect them, and then we feed them to fatten them up towards the end.
They're looking at you too.
And then we kind of keep them there together to decide who we want. And this one right here, you see, he's kind of looking to see what's going on, and he's kind of interested.
He'll be tough by next week.
You may recognize him come Thursday.
He looked out of his left eye. I saw that. The pass is caught by Randy Moss, who got up in the air and got the first down, and the ball was high, but he made it look not high.
You know, this guy's not only going to be Rookie of the Year, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the Pro Bowl. I mean, the way he moves and speed and catches, I mean, he does everything. The other thing that he does is he's a very good blocker.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy is really the complete package.
That's the end of the third quarter with the score: the Vikings 20 to Packers 7. Fox NFL Sunday will continue after a word from your local Fox station. The owner of the Vikings down in the front row, Red McCombs. Circling, John. Can you do that?
Yeah, right there.
He has brought a lot to this team. That's
he's given a high 10.
Yeah. He's never seen the team lose. They didn't lose in preseason, and the one game they lost this year, he was sick and didn't attend.
You know, and he's one of the good things that have happened to this Viking team this year, I think, is he gave them stability. I mean, he came in here, he bought the team, he gave Denny Green an extension, he gave all his assistant coaches new contracts, and now everyone in the organization knows Denny Green is and is going to be their coach. The assistant coaches are going to be there. And I'll tell you, there's really a comfort level within the players.
Second and 12, the Packers blitzing Cunningham, and down he goes. George Kuntz was the first one to get there.
Well, George Kuntz came from the left side, and he came completely free. I mean, you're going to see number 53. He's out there, and he comes free. No one gets him. There he is right there. And they had the inside picked up, and picking up the inside, Kuntz was the outside guy, and they never did get to him.
Third and long. 14 minutes left to play. Third and 19. Moss and Carter come right. 4 wide receivers set up. Leroy Horde in the backfield. Cunningham calls timeout. 20-7. The Vikings over the Packers. They've beaten them once. They're trying to do it again. Minnesota leading Green Bay 20-7. 13:53 left to play in the contest. And the Cowboys face these Vikings on Thanksgiving Day. John and I'll be there. Coverage begins at 3:30, 12:30 East Pacific time, sorry. And right now the Cowboys are winning in the third quarter 16-14 over Seattle. So both teams who will be in Dallas on Thanksgiving Day, at the moment at least, are winning. Cunningham throw it as far as he can. Moss incomplete.
Good job by Darren Sharper there, who's playing corner.
Right down for an NFL update. Let's return to Joe Buck in Los Angeles.
All right, Pat, in Atlanta, down 13-3. Chris Chandler will find Terrence Mathis in the back of the end zone. A 13-yard touchdown throw. Running back Jamal Anderson only 12 yards and a half. A big 15-yard run on that drive. It's now a 3-point Chicago lead at the start of the fourth quarter. Here's Pat and John.
And we're back at the Metrodome in Minneapolis. Further back to punt, and another good kick. But Preston's going to have a chance with this one. Look out. Good coverage, and the fans thought there was an illegal block in the back, and there might have been, as I see a flag sign come down, but they took it back. To 7, Minnesota leading.
Fox NFL Sunday is brought to you by the Grand Am with solid form design. It's excitement, well built from Pontiac. By Paramount Pictures' Star Trek Insurrection, starts Friday, December 11th, rated PG. By Transamerica, the people in the pyramid working for you. And by Intel, makers of the amazing Pentium 2 processor.
Back at the Metrodome, Pat Summerall with John Madden. Packers have the ball first and 10 at their own 29. Haven't seen any blue cheese before. Green hair.
Yeah, big games. Central Division, rivalries, bring out the best in the garb, the festive garb.
I guess that was purple cheese, not blue cheese.
No, that was purple cheese, yeah. That's the Vikings form of cheese.
Favre gets it out to Holmes. Holmes gets close to a first down, he might have it.
You know, Derrick Holmes is doing his part, and the thing that the Packers really aren't doing is stretching this defense.
See, excuse me, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, if you could see 15 yards, he's only completed one pass for more than 16 yards. He completed one in the left, one in the middle, and none out here to the right. You see, all his passes have been completed under 15. So what happens is the defense can start to scoot up on you. And I think that's what the Vikings are doing to the Packers. I think somewhere they're going to have to stretch this defense a little.
Did you see who made the tackle on that pass completion? Jerry Ball, 10 yards downfield.
You know, that's one thing about Jerry Ball. You know, I mean, you think about him, but he is a quick guy. I mean, you think because he's a big guy that he can't move, but he can move, and he's very quick. And here he starts on the screen, and he's right there. And he clubbed old Derek Holmes right from behind. But he's one of those guys, a lot like Nate Newton. Remember when Nate Newton was heavy? He still had very light and very quick feet. In fact, Jerry Ball in high school was a running back.
I remember we've seen old films of him as a running back. Here's Favre back to throw. And again, he has time. Pass complete. That's to Schrader again. And that's another Packer first down.
Yeah, I don't know that Robert Brooks has caught a pass today. You think of
he had one, I think.
Of the receivers, you think of Antonio Freeman and Brooks, and the guy who's catching the passes is Schrader. I mean, Schrader has caught those hooks, and then he's the guy that's a go-to guy now.
Brooks has caught 2. First down on one of them, I recall. 1st and 10. Green Bay at the Minnesota 45. Favre again back to throw. And again it's short. And again it's Schrader. About a yard short, it looks like.
And again, old Jerry Ball's right down there to stop him. If Schrader's going to catch that, and he thinks he's going to go any further than that, Jerry Ball's right down there to say, well, this is as far as you're going with that pass reception. You know, 20-7. I mean, the Packers still have plenty of time. I mean, you know, time is not an issue here. They just have to keep getting first down and keep going like this.
Holmes bangs ahead for the first down. Stopped by Dwayne Rudd.
I think key word being bangs. I mean, that's one thing that has impressed me about Derek Holmes is the way that he has banged it in there today. I mean, he gets those shoulders square, and he gets those piles going backwards.
He's glad to be playing. And it shows. Henderson in front of Holmes. Oops. Somebody jumped.
One of the things, because of this noise, Brett Favre was telling us last night that they're going to go in the same snap count every play. He doesn't want to be changing snap counts and audibleizing because his guys won't be able to hear.
Right on the snap. Ball start. Offense from the snapper. 5 yards remain. First down.
The snapper is the center, and what they're saying is that Frank Winters moved before the ball moved. Now see if he right. You see he did. He flinched. He moved his shoulders and his hips and left the ball where it was. I saw someone here in this crowd today, Pat, before the game, and it had a Bag of Donuts jersey on.
Yeah.
The guy calls up Old Bag of Donuts, and that's Frank Winters' Old Bag of Donuts in there, snapper. The official called a penalty on the snapper.
Favre retreats. Trying to screen to Holmes. Looked like Burba fell down between Favre and Holmes, and he didn't quite have a free look at it.
And that's exactly what happened to Burba, because on the side of the screen, the tackle to that side tries to cut his guy to get his hands down. And I think it just got in the way. See, now Burba's here. Now, when you're going to throw the screen to this side, right there, you try and cut the guy. And that's exactly what he tried to do. He tried to cut Kylie Wong, but then he was right in the way of Derek Holmes.
2nd and 15. Crucial downs now. Now is Chamura on the move. The flag on the play as Favre gets the ball to Chamura down to the 30. Penalty flag down. Again, that noise, maybe it doesn't sound as loud as it really is, but it's having an effect on the Packers for sure.
Well, it's having an effect, whether it's real or imagined. the Packers are really having trouble with this.
Offense, the left tackle was not on the line of scrimmage. 5-yard penalty. It remains second down.
Jerry Ball spoke to us yesterday about the advantage of the crowd noise in the
I think
Metrodome.
that it helps any team, especially in the third and short situations or when, the quarterback is trying to make audibles and everyone can hear. And if we can create a factor with the noise, it makes it difficult because, now they have to go off of a sight type of snap versus a sound.
Well, they've made it difficult. Here's that screen pass again to Holmes. Spins away from one. Is taken down at the 40.
Yeah, that was the same play that Ross Verba got in the way before.
Yep.
And again, it was Kylie Wong. He had to cut him again. That time he cut him. He kind of missed him. But Derek Holmes knew and got away from him. Here's Verba. Now he gets back. You see, he cuts right there. And this time, Derek Holmes got in front of Verba, who was flopping around on the ground. But again, this defense is so fast and has so much speed and tackles so well that you're not going to make a living running screens on them.
That's Ed McDaniel, the middle linebacker, who ran it down. 3 wide receivers. Carr gets away from one. Randall chasing. One-handed catch by Henderson, and Henderson will get a first down.
What was down to play? First of all by Brett Favre, and then by William Henderson. And look at Brett Favre's left finger.
Dislocated.
Yeah, they're going to pull it right back in, too. Usually what you do is you turn your head when they do that. Brett Favre is watching the field.
They're going to bring it back after that courageous first down, but a catch by Henderson.
I don't know that Brett Favre can stay in on that play because the trainers came out in the field, and usually you have to go out one play.
The clock to 9:53.
Doug Peterson's getting ready on the sideline. He's got a ball in his hand in case that does happen.
I think he has to come in for a play because Brett Favre was injured on the play, made a heck of a throw. Henderson made a heck of a catch. The trainers came on the field, and then the quarterback has to go out for one play.
Well, they haven't taken him out yet.
You talk about a tough guy. I mean, Brett Favre, even if they don't make him take him out, the guy can get, I think the officials just missed that one.
I think so.
But the guy can get a dislocated finger and not miss a play, and then watch him put that whole thing in.
Wow.
But that whole play went for nothing because that penalty again was against the Green Bay Packers.
Henderson had the first down. Chamorro goes in motion. Favre retreats. Fires. Chamorro, not enough for the first. But it's caught by Mark Chamorro inside the 30.
And again, with 9 minutes to go here, it looks like the Packers are going to go for it, but I think you kick a field goal in this situation. And, because you are going to get the ball back, but the Packers have already decided. You can tell Mike Holmgren was looking at the play, and he wasn't looking at his field goal team.
20-7 the score, fourth at about 4.
I would rather kick a field goal and get the game within 10 points than take a chance here.
Favre's called the timeout. And the Packers will have 2 left. 20-7 Vikings. Mike Holmgren has come out on the field to talk to Brett Favre.
Because this is such a big play for the Green Bay Packers and Mike Holmgren and Brett Favre and the whole organization.
Well, he's not supposed to do this, is he?
No, of course he's not supposed to do it. But Brett Favre, after he was hurt and the trainers came out and took care of him in the field, he had to go out and play too, but the officials didn't see that, so they must not be looking over there to their right.
Must not be.
A lot of stuff going on there they've missed.
3 wideouts go right. And a flag on the play.
Yep, that one,
penalty.
That's Earl Dotson, the right tackle. He moved on that one.
False start.
Again, the noise.
72.
The noise takes a toll.
Yep, he moved way early on that one. Watch him. Here's number 72, Earl Dotson. See, he moved already. And he was looking in, and I think that he was trying to get back because, when a guy's outside of you and you're worried about a speed rush, the first thing you have to do is get out of your stance quickly.
And noise again. And let's see if they get it snapped on time quick now. Favre is going to take off. A flag on the play. Comes flying back. Favre got the first down with the scramble.
And that's going to be in the area of offensive holding, Pat.
Yep.
Think of all the things that have happened against the Green Bay Packers today, and you know, they get a play and they get an injury and then they have a penalty and they bring it back, they get another play, another penalty.
False start. Offense, number 72.
I did not see anybody move that time. They are saying Earl Dotson.
Yeah, here's Earl Dotson here. The right there, he moved already. You see? He moved way before. In fact, that's the same thing that he did, the exact same thing he did on the play before that.
Before Favre even put his hands under the center, he moved.
It looked like, you know, once he gets down and gets set, he can't move at all. You know, I think that he was arguing that he was just getting set, that he wasn't even down yet, that wasn't part of the snap. That was part of his pre-snap getting down, is what Earl Dotson is arguing.
That's 3 of those penalties I can recall in this series.
Frank Winters had that one, remember, for moving.
2 on Dotson.
Yeah, Verba had one for lining up in the backfield.
Yep. 4th and 14 they need, and Favre has the pass complete. They got the first down to Bill Strader.
What a player Brett Favre is, isn't he? I mean, the last 3 years, the MVP, last year the co-MVP. But if you're going to pass, you got to block John Randall. Ross Verba does it on that play with help from William Anderson. That's the thing. They know that they got to get him blocked, that backside, and then you give Brett Favre a little time, and he can find guys open like that.
8:27 left. Favre retreats. Has time. This time gets it to Freeman, and Freeman cuts back inside the 5 to the 2. Ed McDaniel made the stop. It'll be 1st and goal from there.
Yeah, and now I think that Brett Favre realizes that, you know, you can't do a lot of running. It's going to rely on him. He's putting it on his shoulders. And then one of his guys, his go-to guy now is Antonio Freeman. So he runs him in across. He starts over on the left, runs all the way across the field on the right, and catches that ball. And did you see that shot he almost took?
Yes, I did.
That's why you have to have your head on a swivel with shots like that flying around you.
1st and goal at the 2. Favre. Touchdown. Tyrone Davis. His 2nd of the day. Last week to
this is the thing that Brett Favre does so well, though, as he goes limping off the field. What a warrior he is. And he's the one, I mean, he bought time on that, you know, so that Ty Davis could get open. But I mean, he dislocates his finger. He has to complete like 3 4th down passes. He knows that it's on his shoulder, and he's have to do it. And he looks like a guy who's been at war, doesn't he?
He looks like he's glad that round is over, so I can get back to my corner for a moment.
He needs Lou Duva in there.
The kick is good. It's 20-14. 7.5 minutes left. Back at the Metrodome. The Vikings 20, the Packers 14. Courageous performance by Brett Favre.
They've been working on him. Look at that.
Yeah.
Checking his vision. They gave him smelling salts earlier.
Yeah.
As you said, he took some real hits on that drive as he was leading his team down to a touchdown.
Longwell to kick it off. This is good and deep to Palmer, who's going to bring it out from 4 yards deep in the end zone. Away from 1, away from 2, still on his feet, and the Packers finally converge at the 21. Lamont Hollenquist stopped David Palmer. to 14, Minnesota. This is on the sideline a moment ago. Brett Favre. The smelling salts hit home. Here is the The pass, the touchdown pass to Davis.
And look at the hit that he took after he threw that. But if he didn't run like that, Tyrone Davis wouldn't have been open like he was for the touchdown.
7:19 left. 1st and 10, Vikings at their own 21. Long count for Cunningham, who's going to put it up. Pass is caught by Robert Smith. And right now for an NFL update, let's return to Joe Buck in Los Angeles.
All right, Pat, in Atlanta, 14 unanswered points for the Falcons, including this 11-yard touchdown catch by Todd Kingston. Great catch. Falcons now up by 4 in the 4th quarter. But the terrible news, Chris Chandler just left with an apparent right knee injury. It's now 44-year-old Steve DeBerg in at quarterback for Atlanta. Back to Minneapolis, Pat and John.
There's Reggie White on the ground, Pat. He was the guy that deflected the ball. Watch Reggie White here. Going to run a screen pass. I think we've seen more screen passes in this game than any game I can remember in a long time. And you see right there, he gets his hand up, and that's what you try and do. That's the way you teach a defensive lineman, that you start to rush, and then when the guy goes down for your knees, you just push him down and you go up. That's what Reggie did, and then the ball was deflected. Robert Smith got the ball, and Reggie looked like he got a little air knocked out of him.
And he's headed for the sideline.
But what a year he's had. I mean,
Booker.
Yeah, Reggie White is going to retire this year. It's his last year, but I'll tell you, he's making this last one a good one, isn't he?
Spectacular career, and this was just topping it off. Second down, about 9. Cunningham again to throw it. Gets it deep, and the pass is caught. That's Chris Carter, who stays on his feet and fights into Packer territory. Finally gotten out of bounds by Tyrone Williams.
Yeah, that's one thing that these Vikings do, is every time the Packers do something and start getting a little momentum back, here come the Minnesota Vikings. Randall Cunningham coming right back after him, even though they're going to bring this back because there's a penalty.
Offense number 73.
And it's going to be holding against Todd Stussy.
Todd Stussey's done an excellent job over there on Vonnie Holiday all day.
He really has.
Todd Stussey's one of the best tackles in football. You can see him. He's right here. He's a left tackle. In fact, he looked like he moved a little early there.
Didn't he?
Yep, you see, and he grabbed Vonnie Holiday right at the end, and that's right in front of the referee.
And that's one of the things you don't do.
Yep, I mean, his hands were okay. He had him inside the plane all right, and then as Holiday started to go to the outside, he just grabbed him.
Reggie White's back, 2nd and 19.
Andy Green is upset with the officiating, but Todd Stussey did hold Vonnie Holiday.
20-14, clock running at 6:11, 6:10 now make it. The rush pass is complete to Glover. And they get back to about the original line of scrimmage. It'll be 3rd down.
You know, in this league, that's why the quarterback has to be able to move. You know, they just to buy a little time. We saw what Brett Favre did down there in the touchdown. We saw what Randall Cunningham did on that play. You don't have to run. You don't have to be a scrambler. You just have to be able to move around in pocket, and then you can get some big, big plays.
I think the days of the guys who just drop back, the Waterfields, the Van Bronklins, to go back, those that just stood in the pocket, they're not here anymore.
Those days are over. I mean, you can't do that. You don't have to be able, like I said, to run sprint outs and all that stuff, but you do have to be able to move in the pocket.
Cunningham. I don't know. Randy Moss came down with it above everybody else.
How in the heck did he do that?
He jumped over everybody.
The Packers knew that he could do that if they played man-to-man. But watch the guys around Randy Moss. They're playing zone, and watch the Packers around him. There's 3 Packers there. How Randall Cunningham got that ball in there, I have no idea. But look at Randy Moss. I mean, he just jumps up over everyone's helmet and just flicks the ball right out of the air.
Moss, 7 catches, 104 yards.
He's a guy, I'd take him on my team right now.
Would you like to draft again and take him on your team? Here's Smith. And Robert Smith gets close to midfield, and the Packers.
You know, that's the thing that everyone's talking about. Randy Moss wasn't drafted in the first round until the 21st pick. And everyone is saying, we should have taken him, but I think the good news for Randy Moss was that he was drafted in the 21st pick so he could play for the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah. Now, Bonnie Holiday just departed. McKenzie has taken his place, 2nd and 2.
Todd Stussy has really done an excellent job of blocking Bonnie Holiday over there all day.
Here's the Packers' number 1 choice. Smith is going to be close to a first down.
This is what you expect when you get two Central Division teams, the black and blue and all that. This is a heck of a battle. These guys have really been going after each other, and one of the things the Packers wanted to do and have been successful is stopping this guy, Robert Smith.
This is the way a rivalry, and believe me, in this part of the country and all over the NFL, this is a very serious rivalry.
And that's what the NFL needs. That's what makes the NFL great, is when you have rivalry games and then they're meaningful games.
And they live up to the expectation.
Let's just hear Robert Smith needs that extra yard. And watch him right at the end here. Bernardo Harris has a shot at him. They take it, and he just keeps his feet moving. You see, by keeping his feet moving and getting those extra 3 steps, that was what picked up the first down.
Clock running. Green Bay has not been swept by an opponent since 1993 when Minnesota did it.
And they've dominated this division the last 3 or 4 years, been to the Super Bowl 2 years, and now Minnesota's trying to take it away from them.
Cunningham going deep for Moss. Moss has got it. Touchdown. What do you do?
Jump in the stands.
I don't know what you do to stop it.
This guy is. That's what Randall Cunningham says. He says all the time, just chunk it in the end zone, and I'll get it. And Randall Cunningham listened to him because that's exactly what he did. He chunked it in the end zone.
He flung it.
Are you kidding me?
Chunked it. Whatever.
That's his 8th reception today.
He had 2 guys around him.
Well, the thing that this guy can do is not only can he jump and get open, but he can run faster than anyone on the field.
That's a pretty good package, isn't it?
Yeah, in 2 games against the Packers, he's been a Packer killer.
Minnesota's taking a timeout.
But, you always say don't throw into double coverage. Watch the safety. Throw away from the safety. But here's the safety, and here's Randy Moss, and he just splits him. Earlier, he did it with his jumping. That way, Rod Smith is right there. He just gets right inside of Smith, turns Smith around, and he catches that ball before Darren Sharper can get over there.
Cunningham got it in there to him. Let him do what he does.
Yep, he chunked it.
Yep.
That's all you have to do is chunk it down there. I'll get it.
4 out of 4 for 79 yards on that drive for Randall Cunningham.
Yeah, I was watching Randy Moss in practice the other day, and he takes all the offensive plays, and then he takes all the scout team plays. He has a motor that can go all day.
Well, he has some youth in that motor. Just 21 years old.
You remember when Jerry Rice was a rookie?
Sure.
I think Randy Moss as a rookie is better than Jerry Rice was as a rookie.
Cunningham gets the 2. Randall Cunningham rolls into the end zone, points to the sky as he tacks on 2 more for Minnesota.
Still bootleg. Watch it. The back is going to go this way. Randall Cunningham fakes and goes the other way. Everyone comes in. There's no one in the Packers. They're playing out here. They're playing against Carter, thinking it's a pass, a bootleg pass, and Randall Cunningham ran right in behind him.
28-14.
What he did is he faked 9 of the guys. 2 of the guys covered Chris Carter, and there was no one left.
Welcome to the new title town, and the way these Vikings look, you could be right.
And that's what we could be seeing today is the changing of the guard. Now Now watch what happens over here. This is going to be the side of the bootleg. You see, and you see the coverage here. Everyone is covering. See, they're covering. In fact, I think Chris Carter held one of those cover guys. And there was no one left for Randall Cunningham.
It was a very subtle.
And there's the guy right there. That's Brian Billick. He's the offensive coordinator, and he's kind of the architect of this offense. And what an offense he has this year.
What a candidate he is to be a head coach somewhere.
Yeah, it looks like there's going to be a lot of openings, doesn't it?
Sure does. Preston at the goal line. And taken down at about the 14 by good coverage from Minnesota.
Watch out, Dallas, huh?
Yep.
I mean, I don't know that, you know, in the pregame show we talked and someone asked if the Minnesota Vikings are for real, and
I asked you.
Yeah, well, you asked me. And I said, yeah, I mean, that they are for real because they have the total package. I mean, there's Coach Fazio there, you know, going over his defense, and what a job he's done of defending this Green Bay Packer team because, you know, Brett Favre, you're always in a fight, but the job that he's done and mixing them up, the job that Red McCombs has done and giving stability to this organization.
Red's still nervous. He hadn't relaxed yet with a 2-touchdown lead. Against this guy, you can't. Brett Favre gets it to Chimura, first down. Flag on the play.
This is not like a Green Bay Packer team to have this many penalties.
It's not, is it?
And, you know, Brett Favre, with the penalties, to drive 50 yards, has almost had to pick up 150 yards.
Illegal hand to the face, offense, number 63. Half the distance from the goal, still first down.
Half the distance back to the goal line.
Here's Adam Timmerman, the right guard there. And you see, that's a tough thing because you start on the shoulder pads and you just see as you start, you know, sometimes your punch, as you go to punch the shoulder pad, will go right up to the helmet. And that's what happened to Timmerman on that play.
Cunningham and Moss. What a weapon Randy Moss is.
That is darn near lethal.
Favre throws behind Derek Holmes. Just as well. He was well covered. Today's game is being produced by Bob Stenner and directed by Sandy Grossman. Associate Director Mike Roy. The broadcast associates are Fran Morrison and Charles McDonald. Technical producers Bob Muller. The studio is produced by Scott Ackerson, directed by Bob Levy. The associate director is Jennifer Love. The senior producer is Bill Brown. The executive producers of Fox Sports are Ed Gorin and David Hill. Favre retreats outside to Henderson.
You know, it's interesting, Pat, but the thing that got the Packers in trouble in the first half was a turnover.
Yeah.
The thing that got them in trouble in the second half was the penalties. They've had 9 penalties in today's game, and they've all been in the second half. So, you know, and part of that has been caused by the noise. But I'll tell you, you can't take away from the job this Minnesota Vikings defense has done. A big part of it has been that, too. Big part of it has been that guy and his buddy Randy Moss.
Favre gets it to Royal Preston. Preston, enough for a first down. Clock continues to run, heading at the 2-minute warning. Green Bay has 2 timeouts left, but Favre has a lot of work to do in a very short amount of time. 2 minutes. 28-14, Minnesota.
Fox NFL Sunday is brought to you by Miller High Life.
Back at the Metrodome, Pat Summerall with John Madden. 28-14, Minnesota leading Green Bay. It was 20-14. The Packers moved closer on a very courageous drive by the Pack and Brett Favre. And Minnesota answered quickly.
And Green Bay needs another courageous drive here so that they can get a shot at an onside kick and try and get 2 scores. tell you, these people in Minnesota are fired up. They got a new governor and Jesse the Body Ventura. In fact, they got T-shirts and bumper stickers all over the town that says, "My governor can beat up your governor."
I think they're probably right. I don't know what the holdup is.
Well, the officials are all down here in a bunch about the 40-yard line. There's the 4 officials there, so you know that the game can't be played because the officials are down here huddling up.
See something wrong with the clock. Dallas has moved well ahead of Seattle, and they'll match against these Vikings on Thanksgiving Day. Dallas has won the last 3 times the two have played, but this is a different Minnesota team. We'll be there, John, with the turkey and the game.
I was just going to say, Dallas hasn't played this Minnesota team, right? I think it's a different Dallas team and a different Minnesota team.
Randall Cunningham, a different quarterback from those days in Philadelphia and a different human being, as we said before.
And, you know, and he got through this game fresh. And that was the thing that we were talking about earlier that Denny Green said, you know, having a short week, because they're going to be off Monday, practice Tuesday, and fly to Dallas on Wednesday.
Right.
He said it's important that Cunningham doesn't get beat up in this game.
There's Favre up the middle to Bill Strader.
Again, Favre is that guy. I mean, he's competitive. I mean, you may beat him, but he's not going to go down.
That's right.
He's not going to go away easily.
And Henderson lost the ball, and the Vikings have it. Dwayne Rudd came up with it.
I think it's just fitting that Dwayne Rudd came up with it. If there's a defensive MVP in this game, it has to be Dwayne Rudd. I mean, he has been all over the field. He's made tackles all over here. And here you can see that William Henderson is hit. His knee isn't down. See, the ball comes out before he's down. Dwayne Rudd is right there to pick it up.
Hit by the other linebacker, Ed McDaniel.
Yeah, I think those two have been very formidable today. John Randall gets a lot of play, and John Randall is a great player. But I think today was about linebackers, Ed McDaniel, and Dwayne Rudd.
Dwayne Rudd had a bad shoulder, wore a brace on it for a while, a harness. That wasn't very effective, and it affected his play.
Yeah, it affected his balance.
Yep. But now he's gotten rid of the harness, and he is playing extremely well. Leroy Horde battles straight ahead.
You know, I know you don't get anything for this point in the season, but you have to say that right now the Minnesota Vikings are the best team in the NFC. And I think that you would have an argument with, the Denver Broncos, who's the best team in football. But I think the way they're playing right now, that these two teams, the Vikings and the Denver Broncos, are the two best teams in all of football.
Minnesota now 10-1. We haven't seen Atlanta. They've been playing extremely well.
Yeah, but they're not in this team's class. I mean, this team has way too much speed on defense, and then those offensive weapons that they have are something that are extra special. And Mike Holmgren has probably seen it coming. That when they started to get a little defensive help, they started, Dwayne Rudd gets another year under him. Randall Cunningham comes in and has the type of year he does.
Then they add Randy Moss.
Yeah, then they add Randy Moss. I think everyone in this league, I think their eyes look up.
It's time for hugging. If you're wearing purple.
And we're talking about guys that have motor. Randy Moss has a great motor, but so does that John Randall who we just saw. These Vikings are something special.
Yep. And Denny Green, don't forget what a job he's done. He has really put things together.
You know what he's done here? He's created a place that the players are very happy with. The players love playing in this town, in this stadium, for this organization.
And let's go down to Pam Oliver right now, who's with Denny.
All right, thanks a lot, Pat. Denny, I think it's safe to say there's been a shift in the NFC Central. How key was this game today?
Well, we feel feel great because we played tremendous defense. I think anytime you hold a team to 14 points, you're playing good defense. And then we made a couple big plays. The whole thing is we just battled well. Had a good all-around effort.
Quick turnaround for you. You got the Thanksgiving game against Dallas.
Well, hopefully we're not too sore and too beat up. We know what that was all about. If it's the case, we got to march all night and then be ready to fight all day.
Can you sum up Randy Moss? I mean, this kid is phenomenal.
He's phenomenal because he has a great work ethic. He is a great competitor. He's a guy you can always go to, and I think that with he and Chris Carter, Jake Reed, Robert Smith, and Glover gives that combination with Randall Cunningham offensively, and then a much improving week-by-week defense. We're hoping that we can get out and just keep it going.
I think Randall Cunningham surprises a lot of people week in and week out, but probably not you.
Well, he doesn't surprise me because he comes to us with great faith that this was a great spot for him. He left the game, he didn't feel great about it. He comes back into the game now, really as a gift to us, to be honest with you. A man with great faith and a great understanding of what he wants to accomplish. And it's a shining example for all of America.
Great job. Thank you. Let's go back up to Pat.
All right, Pam, thank you very much. So for John Madden, I'm Pat Summerall saying so long from the Metrodome, where the final score is the Vikings 28, the Packers 14. We'll send you back to the Fox Network Center in Los Angeles with Joe Buck and Ron Pitts with scores from around the league after these messages.